Hey everyone, this is Amanda from Devotion in Action, and I've got this cute little shepherd printable. We're in Ezekiel chapter 34, verses 23 through 24. And just using that medium-sized printable and washi taping this to my page. I've already traced it out in pencil just to save a little bit of time. I'm trying to make these videos a little shorter for you during the month of December because I know things get crazy busy during December. At least my life is crazy busy during December. So now I'm tracing that out, and I'm just using a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen that uses India ink, and so it does not react with water. I can watercolor right over the top of it. If you don't have a pen that doesn't react with water, you're going to want to just trace out in pencil, watercolor, and then line out after your watercolor is dry. Otherwise, you'll end up with a kind of sloppy mess as that black ink reacts with water and smears all over your page. So, yes, we're in Ezekiel chapter 34, verses 23 through 24, and it says, and I will set over them one shepherd, my servant David, and he shall feed them. He shall feed them and be their shepherd, and I, the Lord, will be their God, and my servant David shall be prince among them. I am the Lord, I have spoken. So in Ezekiel, God's speaking to his people, and he's letting them know that he will bring them a shepherd from the line of King David. So this is not actually David himself, but like it's a future David, the royal bloodline of King David. So he says, I'm going to give you a shepherd that's going to be your prince and shepherd forever. Then Jesus comes along and basically announces that he is that shepherd. In John chapter 10, verses 11 through 16, it says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he's a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. But I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. Now, this role of a shepherd is not something that I think of very often in relationship to Jesus. When I do think of Jesus as a shepherd, I often recall the passage about leaving the 99 and going after the one. That's Matthew 18, verses 12 through 13. It says, what do you think? If a man has 100 sheep and one of them has gone astray, does he not leave the 99 on the mountains and go in search of the one that went astray? And if he finds it, truly I say to you, he rejoices over it more than over the 99 that never went astray. But when I think about this passage in Matthew, I don't relate very much to that either because I'm kind of the 99. I mean, I got saved at a young age, was raised in a godly Christian family, never kind of went away from that, married a Christian man. We're raising our family in ministry and in church. And so I know that I have been rescued from my sin and am continually being, rescued from my sin, but I guess I just don't relate to that going astray and having to have God come and like run after me to find me. I don't relate to that as much as I think some other people do. That's very it's such a comforting picture to someone who has gone astray and is brought back in. But as I was reading this Ezekiel 34 passage and the John 10 passage, I started thinking about how the good shepherd role is so much more than that. It's so much more. He's not just a rescuer with no sheep left behind. That's the motto, right? No, he guards and protects us as his sheep. He's watching out for our health and well-being. If we're injured or sick, he's tending to our needs. He's looking out for our best interest. He's providing for us. So we don't go hungry. We have what we need. He knows each and every one of us by name. Think about how a shepherd can tell their animals apart. They can tell which one's which. Farmers can tell their animals apart. They all look the same to me. This always reminds me of when I think about that. It always reminds me of my first year of teaching. I got an amazing job straight out of college. My husband, I got married right out of college, and my husband got a job as a high school band director. And we knew that the divorce rate among like two music teachers at the high school level is astronomical because you never see one another. You're always going in different directions for competitions or practices or whatever. You just have no time together. And so I decided I would interview for elementary music positions. And the elementary music position that I got was at a very large elementary school, like over 1,000 kids. And I was just one of the music teachers at this school. There was another full-time music teacher and then a part-time one that would come in and teach some classes. I taught over 500 children, and they were all kindergarten, first, and second graders. So I had over 500 kids that all looked alike and had to learn all of those names that first year. I think I used up all of my ability to memorize names just in that tiny little amount of time. All of those tiny children looked exactly the same after a while, and I had to learn over 500 of their names. And so I think like that idea of like all of us in the world, but Jesus knows each and every one of us by name and is aware of every hair on our heads. He laid down his life in exchange for ours. It even says in there, I will lay down my life for the sheep. He speaks to his sheep, and they know his voice. He's speaking to us. He's communicating with us, and we know his voice. He's leading and guiding, directing our steps as we go through life. And so that's part of that shepherding thing. The sheep has to submit to the guidance and the direction of the shepherd, right? And so the action step is pretty simple today because it's really kind of a prayer action step. It's to reach out to Jesus as the good shepherd. Really think about that role and what he means to you in that. And then listen for his voice and put your trust in his exceptional care for you. And as we watercolor here, I want you to notice something that I'm doing, and that is that I laid down a gray for the hat and kind of coat that this little shepherd is wearing. And then I'm taking a more saturated brush of the black watercolor and lining out the edges underneath the shadow where the beard hangs down. And then you just take a barely wet brush, not super wet, and blend that out a little bit, and it adds quite a bit of dimension to the hat and coat here. What is only really one color really takes on a lot of life and a lot of movement. You can see the folds and where it turns away from you, which is quite nice. I like how that's painting out using those two shades of gray. I also did a little bit of that on the skin tone, on the hands and the nose. Put down a light wash and then came back with a little bit darker around the edges so that it feels like it kind of rolls away from you on those edges. I felt like since the coat is that grayish color, then I really needed some dark black shoes. So brought in those dark black shoes. Going to let them dry for a little bit before I do the bottom edge of the soles. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to come in and grab those berries. If you'll notice, I'm leaving some little slivers of white in the berries, like they were reflecting the light in that red of the berries. And to bring in the green, it was just the first one that I put down there was really light, so I knew it was going to come back and make those darker. So adding a little bit of a darker green on these leaves to give them a little bit more life, holly sprigs with berries. It's one of my favorite things to draw at Christmas time. I think it's very accessible. Like if you are really confident in your drawing skills, it's really easy to draw holly sprigs and like 3 berries in the center of the holly sprigs coming out from them. So you want to give that a try if you are wanting to build on your drawing skills and, you know, maybe decorate some gift tags or something, it's a pretty easy way to do that. Just hitting his beard with some of that silver metallic paint from the Kuretake Gansai Tombi Starry collection of metallic watercolors. A little bit of a dark gray for the soles of those black shoes. And now I'm going to give him a ground to stand on, kind of brownish, grayish ground to stand on. Add some black in there. I really wanted a nice floor, and then come back with a little bit more brown, a different shade of brown in there. Several different colors. I've really kind of gotten into doing that more and more as I'm creating a surface for them to stand on. I think it really adds interest as I'm watercoloring. And I'm going to mix up some blue and paint out this hat, the hat band in a blue color to contrast with the green and the red of the berries and the grays and blacks of the hat and coat too. So give it a little bit more color. It's got a little bit of purple in the band of this, in this blue band. So blue and purple together, it adds a lot of interest to have two tones in there. So you might give that a try as well. I'm going to mix up some blue and green and gray. And I don't want a super light background around him. So I'm going kind of dark on this one, a little bit darker on that background, and that is just a blue and green and gray mixed together. And you can see me mixing the colors this time because of the way that I have my camera zoomed in a little bit more. So just letting you know that's what I've mixed on those colors. I do not want to run out of time, so I'm going to pray with you real quick to make sure I get that in. Dear God, reveal to me the richness and depth of Jesus as the Good Shepherd. Help us to see that. Help us to really grab a hold in our minds of this role that you play as our Good Shepherd. Help us to submit to your leadership and your guidance. As sometimes the sheep don't want to go the way that the shepherd wants them to go. And I just ask that you would give us hearts that follow after your leadership, that follow you and submit to your guidance. Help us to hear and know your voice. Give us ears, the ears of our heart, the ears of our minds, that we would hear your voice and know it and be able to follow you. Help us to trust in you, to care for us every day. You know, sometimes bad things happen and it becomes difficult to trust. It's hard to get that trust back, and to realize that you are caring for us as a good shepherd. So I ask for you to help us to trust in you every day. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, and you notice I masked off the facing page with a piece of paper, masked off my little shepherd guy with a piece of paper, and just adding in some of those silver sparkles that match his beard. And I just love this. Really shows up really well in person, not on camera, but in person, those sparkles are very shimmery. So it's a pretty fun page. It's one of my favorites that I've done. Really enjoying these little gnomes this series. And I'm just adding @Devo in Action, #DIA Gnomes, and the date for today. And this is basically the entry. I'm going to add the Good Shepherd along the edge of this little guy here to kind of title this, or, you know, show what I'm referring to. And as I'm writing this, I'm just darkening those down strokes anywhere where my pen pulls down as I am writing in cursive. Just going to darken those really quickly, and it creates just kind of a modern calligraphy almost look. Nothing super fancy, but it makes the writing pop a little bit more than just plain cursive. So just darkening those down strokes. And it doesn't take very long either. It's pretty quick. And here's our little shepherd gnome. Yay! In Ezekiel 34. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.